Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to talk to you about the best spring search lure, rod reel lure combination that you might not already be fishing. Alright, so in spring, especially early spring, a lot of times it's more important to find the fish than it is to catch the fish, because you can't catch the fish if you don't find them. And so when the water temperature hits those high 50s, low 60s, the sun starts to come out, the birds start to chirp, the fish can be tough to find initially. So one setup that I like to use is I'm basically using a loose reel in a 6-5. This particular reel is a laser AH. It's one of the more economical reels, but you can use anything in a moderate gear ratio. That's 6'4", 6'2", 6'4", 6'5 to 1. You want a lower lower gear ratio reel for this. I'm pairing that with a 7.7, a medium heavy, moderate slow, which is a crankbait rod. Now, because this is a wake bait, a lot of people don't think of the fact that it's got a lip on it, therefore it's a crankbait. What I like to fish this bait on is a crankbait rod, because I like when it runs into a stump or a tree limb or something, it deflects. And the only way that it's going to deflect is if that rod has some give in it. The other thing that happens a lot of times is the fish run up and grab and turn, and you want to have a little bit of flex on the reel or on the rod so that you don't break the line, and you want to fish a relatively light drag. One thing that I love about this All Pro rods in this EL series, it's got a little bit shorter handle, so it allows me to get that rod in behind there, but then move it around if I need to change up angles for the presentation. But let me show you the lure that I'm fishing. Again, the rod reel and line combination is part of it, but really what it's about is the lure. And so shad are starting to school. You know, they've been piled up into wads. Now they're starting to, or I'm saying they've been schooling. Now they're starting to scatter, and they're getting in these long strings, and they're working their way into the backs of creeks. And they're staging and passing the areas that the bass are staging. And so I like to find those spots. And one of the ways that I like to find those spots and to figure out if the basses move shallow is to use a moving bait that I can start and stop. And one of the ways that I like to fish a wake bait is a lot like a topwater, where I just give it a rip, rip, stop, rip, rip, stop, rip, rip, stop. And the reason for that is a wake bait doesn't just waddle, it also rolls. So in this case, I'm using a clear with a pearl green back and basically a clear lower. To me, that gives that shad imitation. There's some holographic effect to it. It's got an oversized eye, but it just does a good job of imitating that shad that is breaking off from the school, or that shad that is easy prey. The lure that I'm using here is a Yozuri 3DB, but you can use a man's baby -1. You can use an actual -1 or anything in the waking family. But this bait, like I've shown you, is gonna stay right up on the surface. And when you slow pull it, it's going to create a bulge. It's going to put off a lot of flash, a lot of thump, and more importantly, create a lot of vibration. And I like a high-pitched lure early on and more of a low-pitched lure a little bit later in the season, even going into one that doesn't have any weight. So that high pitch is going to call them from a distance. It's going to let them know it's there. And more importantly, when you set it still and you just twitch it, you get that rattle. Whereas with a lower pitch, a deeper thud, you really got to move it a lot more to get that knock going. And so I like those high pitch BBs. I really like this Yozuri 3DB. I love the man's, baby -1. That thing does a really good job. But that color combination right there, and I think that bait being translucent, especially since I'm fishing clear water and a lot of vegetation, just does a good job. When I'm hitting that milfoil and that coontail, that square lip, and that action really moves that stuff out of the way so that the treble hooks don't foul on it. But I've paired this up with some Sunline Sniper, some XS braid, a 7'7" medium heavy moderate slow, 6.5 to 1 gear ratio loose reel, and that APR loose Sunline combination is flat deadly. One thing you might not be fishing that you could be fishing to catch more fish, that's as exciting as a topwater bite in many cases, but a lot of times a lot more effective and a lot higher hookup ratio, is to try to tie on a wake bait. Get out there, use it as a search bait. I think you'll put more fish in the boat, and I can tell you it is one of the more exciting ways to fish, because you get to see them coming up, not only does it wake, but a lot of times they'll wake on their way to it. It looks like a submarine surfacing, and when they hit it with reckless abandon. And it's just one of my favorite spring tactics, and one of those tactics that you might not be using. So anyway, let me know if you like this video. Smash that thumbs up button. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you don't like the video, tell me why, and I'll try to do better in the future. But if you do, let me know that as well. And so we'll see you next time here on Kayak Bassin TV. As always, do me a favor. If you haven't considered it yet, please consider becoming a KBF member. Helps us grow the community. Lots of resources for you. And if you're looking for any of the gear that I use in this video or any of my videos, you can find it all at Fish USA, America's Tackle Shop. I need to find my glasses on top of my hat because the sun's way out, and you know, it helps.